everyone, and good morning. Welcome to our live feed update for September 21st. I'm your host, Taran Armstrong, and I'm here today to give you an update on everything that happened yesterday on the Big Brother 25 live feeds. It was day 50 in the house. We are officially halfway through the season, which is weird because, they haven't evicted half of the players, but it feels like we've evicted more than half of the players. So let's talk about the day. Of course, we're going to get some more plans finalized for the double eviction. We're going to get some more talk about the vote, but not a ton from today. But with me to talk about the not a ton is Beth. How you doing, Beth?
I'm doing great, Taran. We need to celebrate. We are halfway through the game. Very exciting. We had cake that we didn't really get to see the remnants of last night. Very sad. We have a celebration. We have a double eviction tonight. It is a lot to celebrate. And like you said, kind of a calm day, which we're not used to in this house yesterday.
Yeah, it's I'm constantly trying to evaluate like what it was about the house dynamic that made it so dynamic over the last 40 some days prior to the big event, and I think part of it too is that like now in the house they're doing the thing that happens in Big Brother a lot where they're talking about the same event over and over and over. Like they're still talking about the fight. They're still talking about Jared's lies. They're still talking about all of those same things. Where prior to this week, I feel like there was no repetition. It was always there. Like Izzy and Suri would just constantly move forward like sharks. They never looked back.
I think the big issue, like you're bringing up here, is we need Izzy in that house. I miss her so much, Taran. This week has just been so calm in comparison. They're like, we're going to have a plan. And then they stuck to the plan. And there's been a little bit of work on Suri's side to try to get some votes going. But for the most part, like, we don't have that chaotic energy of going back and forth and with Suri and Izzy and coming up with new plans and then kind of overthinking what the other side is probably doing because the other side's not playing as hard as they think they are. So we're going to have to come up with a plan because we think that they're doing this and they're not doing this. And now we just see, oh, okay, if you're Suri, the other side really isn't doing this. And also I don't have the agency and the power that I used to have. So there's really not much she can do right now. So it's very sad. I have to say, I wish Izzy was in the house for this double eviction because I can only imagine the kind of wonderful, beautiful chaos she would have brought to it.
Yes. Well, let's talk about the day. Of course, prior to today, there was just a lot of talk about what the plans were for the next week. Not a lot of them think that it will be a double eviction, but the idea is, of course, out there because they haven't had one yet. A lot of people talking about targeting Jared, in particular, Jag, Matt, Corey, America, Bowie basically are all looking at Jared as their target. They're talking about various ways to make that happen, whether it should be just straight up putting Jared up next to Suri or whether Jared should go up next to Blue now that Blue has been advocating for Jared and Suri a lot. Blue's journey throughout the week has basically been screw Jared. Actually, no, that doesn't make sense. He's good for my game. Screw Suri. Actually, maybe that doesn't make a whole lot of sense for my game either. I would just take out somebody like Bowie. And so that's kind of her trajectory, but she has been very transparent with that trajectory. And so everyone is seeing that she's doing that. And therefore, Corey is thinking, well, maybe we need to put Blue on the block next to Jared if she's going to maybe use the veto on Jared. So they've been talking in that direction. Meanwhile, Mimi and Felicia have had their own journey of screw Jared and Suri. Wait a minute. Maybe that's not best for our games. Maybe we should do something else, but actually, no, screw them. But actually, no, wait, hold on. They are still big targets. Maybe we should target Jag. And they've spent some time trying to convince Suri and Jared to also target Jag if they were to win, and they have seemed relatively convinced as well. So So that's kind of where things stood, at least at the beginning of day 50. And the reason I'm going into so much detail is because it's mostly still going to stand there by the end of the day.
Yeah.
So we're looking at tonight, the double eviction. 2 more faces on this graphic are going to go gray. And we're going to officially be into jury by tomorrow. So that's pretty wild. And top candidates right now are Jared, Cirie, Jag, Corey Bowie, maybe? I mean, that seems like mostly it.
Yeah, and I think that the reason why they're also kind of potentially thinking Blue is not only just because she's advocating, but she did pretty well in the wall comp. And so they're like, maybe it's a situation where we have to kind of consider who's a bigger threat to win a competition, Cirie or Blue. So I would also throw Blue's name potentially onto that list. But I mean, Jared's definitely the top of the list. Cirie, Jag are definitely rounding out that top 3.
Yeah, I mean, theoretically, there are a lot of people that could leave. I think probably the safest people right now, probably Felicia, Matt, and maybe even America in the double. It's not super likely that she would leave right now. So,
and I don't think Mimi. I think Mimi would stick around.
Mimi's definitely very safe, but she does have an issue with a blue HOH.
That's true.
So that's the only reason I'm a little concerned.
Yeah.
The blue HOH is the true wild card one, where like basically almost all outcomes lead to like Jared, Cirie, Jag, maybe Corey. But then the blue HOH is like a wild Corey result, a wild Bowie result, a wild Mimi result. Like it could be anything from blue.
You know what? Is it bad that I want a blue HOH tonight now? I'm like, now that we didn't get a lot of the like scramble chaos with going into eviction day, I kind of need that on double eviction night.
I do feel that it's weird though, because like if Blue does win and Jared stays, that just means another full week of like, okay, everyone's targeting Jared. We're still doing this.
That's
like,
true. That's true.
So we'll see. But that's kind of where we started the day. The day is going to progress fairly normally. Jag and Matt are going to agree once again that if it's double eviction, they're putting Jared and Cirie on the block. However, they've been thinking a little bit more about this throwing the HOH thing, and Jag is going to explain to America why he thinks that it's important for him and Matt to give the HOH to Corey and America, and only Corey and America. Maybe Bowie, but probably not. Because if Corey and America, and it's not just about maintaining their cover at this point. He doesn't care about that. And he even talks to Matt about this later. He's being genuine. The reason he thinks it's best for Corey and America to win HOH is that if Corey or America put Cirie and Jared on the block, Cirie and Jared will probably think we should pick Matt, maybe even Jag for the veto to help have extra outs to win this veto and take one of us down. And then, then they won't use the veto if they win. But if Jag or Matt wins the HOH and puts up Cirie and Jared, then they'll know instantly they've been betrayed. There's no shot they're going to pick Matt or Jag to play in the veto. They're definitely not going to pick Corey or America to play in the veto. So they'll probably end up picking like Mimi and Felicia, and Mimi or Felicia might actually use the veto on one of them. Who knows? They don't know what exactly would happen in that situation. And so in either way, like that's just less of them playing in the veto. So ideally, Corey and America win.
Yeah, and I think that I've been really impressed the past couple of days with Jag's read on the game and his ability to mostly keep his game to the right people. This has been a massive improvement. I think that once you have uncovered the lines in the house, it does obviously help a little bit with the gameplay. But I think this is a really good read by Jag. If he and Matt want to stay loyal, and I know that Matt is nervous about, he's like, I don't want to put up Cirie and Jared, but I know I have to. So I think that they're realizing the best path forward for the two of them is to go up against Corey and America. And so I'm really fascinated by like, okay, we have some great gameplay being played by Jag. Good going, bud. I'm excited.
Jag is, and I appreciate this about Jag, but sometimes I think because like Jag just really wants to. Like I feel like Jag wants to play like chess or
Mm.
I mean he doesn't play chess that much, but he wants to play like what was that the Blood on the Clock Tower game that we played a little while ago where it's like Jag just really wants to play a game where there's like specific strategy to like talk about the minutia of.
Yeah.
And like he loves talking about like okay, so if it's this comp, this is going to be our strategy. If
Mhm.
it's the stay or fold, this is going to be the order in which we do this. Like okay,
Yeah.
so if I win the HOH, then they're going to go this way. And I appreciate that as a fellow person who loves to think about strategy. But I do think that sometimes he gets a little wrapped up in wanting to think about the minutia and not looking at the big picture, which was part of his problem up until now.
Yeah.
But his big picture looks a lot better now, and so the minutia is helping.
And I do, again, I think that once you have clarity as to where people are, I actually think Izzy leaving for his game, I know that you talked about this on the stock watch this week, was massive for him. This was a huge thing for him, not just in terms of his placement in the house, but also his ability to really understand where are people. And he's just been kind of running around to the wrong people. And now he has a better idea of where those pieces lay. So I think you're right, Taran. I think once he kind of understands the layout of the game, he can better strategize and keep the strategies to the right people.
Yeah. He is going to talk with Felicia, him and Matt. Just talk some more with Felicia in general, more about not trusting Suri, how they need to make a move, how last week went down. This is really the conversation I was most talking about in terms of just repeating the same stuff over and over. But it's more bonding between the
Yeah.
three of them, which is important because a Felicia HOH is potentially dangerous for them, particularly Jag. They ideally want Felicia pointed at Jared and Suri rather than
Mhm.
at one of them.
Do you think that Felicia will actually go after Jared and Sari? I have a feeling that she's a little bit more loyal to the brown sugar babies than she is. And I think that she knows that Jag and Matt are serious comp threats for the end game.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I wouldn't say loyal,
Yeah.
but her and Mimi the day before on day 49 did have a couple of conversations about not going after Suri and Jared.
Hmm.
And after the Brown Sugar Babes meeting, they were like, "Yeah, we don't trust them, but they're targets in front of us. Why would we waste our shot?" And they were advocating essentially for Suri to take the shot at Jag in that meeting, and
Hmm.
so it makes a ton of sense for them to take the shot
Yeah.
at Jag. I mean, Jag or Matt, but Jag makes plenty of sense too. Um, Especially because I mean the problem is Jag is more connected to Corey in America, but Matt is more connected to like Suri.
Hmm.
And Matt is maybe a more dangerous player overall.
Yeah.
So I could see the idea of taking the shot at Matt, but how do you even get Matt out? And then also like how do Suri and Jared feel about you taking the shot at Matt? Either way, I think taking that shot is right for them.
Hmm.
But they haven't really discussed in detail like what exactly they would do. And knowing it's double eviction, they're not going to have a lot of time to discuss. So it could be the really
Yeah.
chaotic HOH as if Mimi or Felicia win.
I definitely think that Mimi and Felicia really don't need to win this HOH for the double eviction. I mean, I don't see a world where the two of them are put up. Maybe Blue. I don't know. Like you
I mean,
said, she's like,
I think protecting Jared I mean, like, I think for them getting out Jag or even Blue
mm-hmm,
themselves in this HOH would be huge. Getting out Blue would help weaken Jared and Suri a little more.
that's
Getting
true.
out Jag would help weaken Corey in America a little more. The danger is that you don't want like Jared and Suri to be able to like form a comeback because
Yeah.
they still do have Blue. And if you take out Jag, then you no longer have Matt. And where does Matt go? Does he go to Suri too? So that's a little bit of a danger there.
Yeah.
Um, but you also like if Jared leaves, your leverage in the game diminishes, right? Like
Right.
because Jag and Matt have Blue now without Jared. Where does Suri go? Ideally to you, but Suri's also a target, but maybe even not like a good shield. At that point, you're kind of relying on Corey and America, they're A, not reliable as allies, and B,
Right.
not reliable as competition threats.
Yep.
So it's a tricky spot either way, but I mean, they're in an okay spot for now.
Yeah, I think what I was thinking was if they they can be kind of like the middle floaters who are just floating to whoever. And because I don't think anybody is really saying, oh, well, we have to really worry about Mimi and Felicia for comps. Okay, well, no, that's more of the Jag Mat that people are worried about, or Jared. Okay, we know that Jared's, public enemy number one right now. And so what they should be thinking about is who replaces Jared with Cirie, because we know that Cirie's good on a one-on-one. So I completely understand on that point of like, maybe we have a little bit more control of as to who Cirie has left over. And like you said about Cameron and America, like, we know that we can't trust literally anybody in this house. So, but they're like the least reliable duo to go for. And I don't know, are they going to go for like F and Bowie Jane here? Like, what's happening? So I kind of felt like it's almost best for them to not win the first HOH like for the episode, and to maybe go for the second one and reclaim the power and be able to kind of set the tone for the next week in the house, based off of whoever goes home in the first eviction or the second eviction of the night.
Yeah, that might be the ideal play, but at the same time, it's just like if you have the ability to win an HOH, especially the double
Yeah.
HOH, where it's like the one after that is probably going to be a little harder to win, a little more
Yeah.
physical. So,
Sure.
we'll just have to see. Corey is going to talk to Bowie a bit. He talks to her about how she's doing well in the game now because everyone is starting to finally realize that she has value in the game. Because before they were like, oh, well, we can get Bowie to do what we want. And now they're saying they feel good about Bowie. Meanwhile, him and Bowie have been talking for weeks. They've had a relationship before people realized that Bowie was valuable. And he lets Bowie know that he's looking, same thing he told Mimi and Felicia, he's looking like final 9 or so. They will start to sort of try to figure out exactly how they want the end game to shape up.
Yeah, I think Bowie is just such an interesting factor in this week where, we saw her come out and actually start to really play the game and take in information. And I think that she's realizing like, oh, I'm kind of the person that people need. I'm not somebody's number one. So having that recognition, I think that she's had, any of these conversations, she's had a little bit more of a filter of like, okay, I'll keep that in mind because I have so many options at this point. I don't know do you think that she would work with him in that way?
I think she'll work with anybody.
Okay.
I think she'll work with whoever has power. I think that she's sort of positioning herself to be pulled in by whatever the winning group of the upcoming war is. I think she would love to work with Corey in America. I think that she has like the best relationship with them at this point. But she's not going to go down with a sinking ship. She's shown that with Cameron this week. So
yeah. I don't know why, but I just felt like if she could choose who she wanted to work with, I think personality wise, in terms of like how she's been treated, I think America and Corey have been, some of the better people to her in the house. And, don't get up when she enters the room, that kind of thing, which hasn't happened as much this week because I think that people realize, oh, we need her. But I also think just understanding the physicality nature, I almost saw her thinking, maybe I could go with the Matt Jag duo, which I think would actually be really interesting for her because I do think down the line they will be the threats that everybody wants to take out for the more physical competitions that come at the end of the season, right? And she's quite physical herself. And so I do think it would be very fascinating to see like, where does she kind of float to? But I don't know. It'll be interesting to see.
I mean, I think if she had her choice of like anybody that she wanted, regardless of how they felt, she would have chosen Cirie. Cirie's just gonna drop that ball a little bit.
Yeah.
So the feeds go down for a little while. They receive a message, a clue of some sort. We don't know exactly what it is. Apparently there was like some sort of statement that had words with missing letters. And there's lots of talk about Corey's theory in particular is that it had something to do with like BB zombies, coming back to shake up the house. And he thinks that the last word was like resurrection, very much thinking this is something to do with a buyback, a battle back of some sort. They think maybe they're just sort of hinting at a double eviction is upcoming. We know there is a double eviction coming up. So like that seems like the most likely answer to me, at least, considering that we know that is coming. And then there's also like a little bit of talk about like maybe it's just prep. Maybe it's just like we were going to be quizzed on it in the HOH competition, which also seems like it could be likely to me, given that we know that the HOH is probably likely to be a quiz competition. So it's not, and we're not entirely sure what this means. And I think we can just wait until the episode tonight to find out, because we didn't even see the message ourselves, and they don't even know what it means. So we're getting their speculation on something they don't know what it means that we haven't even seen.
I mean, if we cracked the code before they did, Taran, put us in the house. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah. So Corey's going to talk to Jared a bit more, just again, more of the same things. That he's not nominating Jared. He won't nominate Cirie. Jag and America are safe with him. Anybody else is basically fair game. Jared's later going to tell this to Blue, like, I don't think he named you. Blue's like, fair, I'm nominating him.
I love Blue. The past day in particular too, I love, and I know we'll get to some of the conversations that she has later as well, but I just love this, that her ability to be like, I'm going to have a very like almost heartfelt one-on-one with somebody, talk a little bit of strategy, hear some information that is new to her, and then be like, now I'm going to run this back to Jared and then be like, okay, based off of this, I'm still going to stick with like my original plan here. And you're like, okay, well, what was the point of all of those conversations then? But I mean, fair. I think she knows that her loyalty needs to stay to Jared. So I think, it'll make sense for her to want to go after them.
Yeah. Well, Jared is going to talk to Cirie. They discuss Cam. He's been pitching still. He's still pitching like, hey, I'm a free agent. He's been, pitching to different groups. And, Cirie's like, should we consider this? Because like, I'm a little concerned about various things right now. They count the votes. They think that Mimi and Felicia would be hard to get. Meanwhile, we know that from yesterday, Mimi was in the, or maybe it was the day before at this point, was in the pantry talking to herself about how do I keep Cameron.
Right.
But they feel like Mimi would be very tough to get. And Jared says, honestly, Cam keeps pitching this thing about me, Jag, Matt, Blue, and him going to the final five. And he doesn't realize it, but like he keeps leaving you out. And if he included you, I'd be willing to keep him. Like that's the big thing. But he keeps leaving you out of the pitches. And it's just like, again, Cam not seeing Jared's connection to Cirie. And I don't even mean in the family sense. I just mean that like obviously Jared and Cirie have been super everybody else in the house knows this. I don't know why Cam thinks that he should be pitching to Jared, that he should go with Jag and Matt. Like, of course not. He's working with Cirie. That's why he went against you last week. That's why he didn't use the veto. Like, he's working with Cirie, dude.
I feel like Cameron is just so out of the loop. Nobody is really talking to him, right? They're like, okay, well, he's gone. So we're thinking about the double eviction. We're thinking about the weeks to come, like this week set in stone. And Cameron's just like, well, I'm trying to think about how we move forward together as a group. And they're like, that's cute. Yeah, keep pitching those names and such. I don't understand. Why aren't you taking a look and how does he not know who the duos are in the house? I think people are pretty open about talking who they are at this point.
Yeah. Cirie says the whole Jag and them thing scares me. Jag, Matt, Corey, America, Mimi, like I don't like it. So like that's why she's thinking maybe we should keep Cam. Then Felicia walks in and the first thing she says is like, man, what do you guys think about this whole transmission thing? Like, man, if they do some shit that leaves Cameron in this house, can you imagine? And they're like, oh yeah, that'd be terrible.
Mimi's like, yes, that would be so horrible, but also, what do you think about this idea?
So the talk of flipping this vote, it dies here. They don't even have another conversation, really. Again, lack of Izzy means lack of opportunities for these things to change, and Izzy was always way more willing to versus Jared. While this conversation was happening, Blue and America were talking in the have-not room, and America says, listen, we just need to have a conversation between the two of us where things stay between the two of us, and we're not bringing it back to Jared, bringing it back to Corey. Like I've tried so many times, and I feel like we've always, brought the conversations elsewhere. So we need to have a conversation that stays with us. And they both agree they're not going to give up their games for a showmance. And they both start complaining about their partners in the game. Jared, he's doing so much. He's in a bad spot now. Corey, oh yeah, he does. He's like all over the place. He's talking to way too many people. He's always doing so much. We just need to make sure we have our own games going on. And Blue says, hey, I'm not going to say final two, but and America says, let's do it. And Blue's like, all right, let's do it. And they say, okay, this is it then. The final two.
Let's call ourselves the Sirens.
We need a cute little name. What about the Sirens? I guess we're the Sloppy Sirens. My shoving my tongue down Corey's throat to get this veto.
I wish that had been a part of the conversation where America was like, in addition to how like messy Corey's gameplay is, the kissing, messy, smacking around, just I'm sure the live feeders are loving the kissing ASMR at home. Just
Sloppy Sirens. They land on Sirens. They land on the Sirens. They're not the Sloppy. Sloppy Sirens would be iconic, but they're just the Sirens.
By the way, it would be iconic if they did both cut their showmance partners and go to the final two together. Like immediately, that's legendary.
I think it would be iconic for America, and I think she would do it because I think she would win. If Blue cut Jared for America, I feel like, maybe she would have a chance because of them. I just feel like she beats Jared right now.
Right.
So why would you cut him? But cutting Jared to take America, no, because then we're assuming at this point that Cerie's probably in the jury. But if Cerie's in the jury, then maybe Jared does beat her. I don't know. Either way, I agree with you.
Yeah, it's not smart for Blue ultimately. Like if Blue wants, a second place check, then go for it. But I just think just in general, how amazing would that be? Normally in these games, it's the women who are, the casualties half the time, when it's the men get to stay a little longer. That's not always the case. We know that, but it's still like, it'd be pretty iconic.
I really do think if Corey and America stay long enough, like she's absolutely willing to cut him and probably needs to. And so we could see something happen like that. So America says, has Jared told you about the Final Four they had? Blue's like, what? What do you mean, what Final Four? She's like, Corey told me about it after. It was called the Crossroads. And Blue's like, oh my God. No, I didn't know about this either. Man, they were holding so much information back from us. And look at them now. The both of them. They're crumbling. They're not in a good position. And we are. And I think she's a little bit underestimating Corey's position. She thinks that Corey's in the same spot as Jared right now. But Blue says, listen, between you and I, if I win HOH, I would have to put Corey up. And America could not hide her reaction here. So a little bit of a reaction. Blue immediately, but I wouldn't want him to go. She's like, well, who would you want to go? Bowie. Who's the replacement nominee? Mimi. Okay. I would have the votes. And they count the votes like, okay, yeah, you would have the votes. She's like, I would just need to save face. I could not put Suri or Jared on the block. And I'm sitting here like, Blue, why are you coming for my draft team like this? Come on.
It was such an attack on Taran Armstrong. I sat back disgusted thinking
Bowie and Mimi? Like, can you target anybody? There's a lot of other people not in my draft team.
On my draft team over on my weekly meltdown, I have America, Corey, and Mimi. And so there's been a couple weeks where I've sat back and been like, oh my gosh, all three of them are in danger. And then I'm like, okay. And then this week I was like, oh my God, two of them are on the block. They're definitely going. And then I'm like, okay. And now neither of them are going. Like, what is happening? So I feel you on, an untouched draft team at this time, so.
Yeah, there you go.
Important things.
So America is going to go and talk to Corey after this conversation. And of course, lets him know, hey, Blue said she was going to put you up, by the way.
BT dubs.
I do not believe she tells him about the sirens, as like going that far, but she does warn him that Blue is saying she's going to put him up. Corey says, I don't get why she would nominate me and not Suri. Talking about saving, like, how does putting me up save face? Like, who is she trying to please here? And Corey says, well, I'm definitely putting up Blue with Jared now. Like,
I just think that, like, who's she trying to save face for? Maybe Suri? Like, why is that so hard to understand? I don't know. I
don't think he sees the connection between Blue and Suri, because he doesn't realize that Suri is, her mother-in-law.
Well, but I also think too that, do you see the connection between Blue and Jared? Can we make the next step logical decision to say, okay, maybe Blue is trying to save face for this pair that's over here that she's in a showmance with one of them? I don't know. I don't think it's that hard to figure that out, especially for someone who's supposedly strategic like Corey, although sometimes that's tested and a lot of times that's tested, I guess. But I don't know. I sat back and was like, come on, Corey. Who else do you think that she's saving face for? Her showmance is like other big person in the house that you're also targeting.
Well, Corey very much wants to nominate Blue now. I mean, honestly, it's getting to the point. It would not surprise me, and this is where Blue could get into some deep trouble. Like, if Jared does win the veto there, and maybe it's Blue versus Suri, and you do think that Blue is kind of locked in, do you then try to just go ahead and take the shot at Blue? I mean, if you're Felicia and Mimi, you definitely take the shot at Blue over Suri, right?
Absolutely.
If you're Corey in America, maybe not America now, but if
not
you're Corey,
America, yeah. I think that Corey would want to. Obviously, if he's putting her up, then great. I think the really interesting people come down to Matt and Jag. And I think that Matt would be more inclined to vote Blue out than Suri. And I think Jag would be more interested in getting rid of Suri over Blue.
And then Bowie's there too, right? So, like,
once again, get to look at her and go,
Bowie does not have a relationship with Blue. Blue wants Bowie out. I could absolutely see a scenario where Blue leaves here. Between Mimi, Felicia, Suri, that's Mimi, Felicia, Jared, that's 3 votes.
Yeah.
Bowie, Matt, with Corey pushing potentially, like, I could definitely see this. And it would make a ton of sense, I think. If you can't get Jared, Suri is not the play. Blue is the play. Because Blue weakens Matt and Jag. And you're taking her out while you still have permission to take Blue out. Because Blue is working with Jared and Suri. You say, sorry, but Blue is working for Jared. Jared just won. Blue and Jared together is more dangerous than Suri and Jared together.
Right.
And they have to agree. But now when they take out Jared, they don't have Blue to fall back on, which is huge. So honestly, I'm starting to convince myself that taking Blue out is better than taking Jared.
I mean, I won't lie. I've been thinking the same thing. I think the only reason why you go after Jared first purely is for comp wins at this time, is to say like, okay, he's proven that he can win competitions. And then, which has been shocking for us at home as well. But I do think that taking out Blue makes a lot of sense. You know, when you get into these different pairs that have a third person kind of really locked in, that third person oftentimes can be the key to really dismantling that pair, because they're going to have to really start scrambling for other relationships when they feel like they have that third leg, that peg to stand on. There's more stability. You kick it out, and all of a sudden they're like, okay, we got to figure out what we're doing here. Now, I trust Sari, of all people, to be able to scramble and figure that out if Blue goes. And I actually would see a world where Sari is like, yes, this was a blow, but I also see opportunities now that maybe we couldn't have when there was a showmance in the house. So I actually think even for Sari's game, having Blue leave could be a path forward for her in particular with her skill set to be able to really solidify things with Mimi and Felicia. And potentially even Bowie or other people who are Matt, for example, who have an affinity for her, but know that she's not the best for their game right now.
Chad is also mentioning that in this scenario where Jared wins the veto and Sari is up against Blue, you have to imagine Blue starts feeling the heat. Maybe a secret drops.
Dun, dun, dun.
All of a sudden, I'm kind of okay with another boring week of targeting Jared, because this double eviction could be an all-timer.
Yeah, this could be great. Man.
All right. Well, Corey talks some more with America. He says he's happy he doesn't have to fuck her anymore.
Mm-hmm.
That he was having to do so much of that, and he's so happy he doesn't have to do it anymore. But he lets her know, like, hey, or not, but like he also lets her know, hey, if Sari wins the HOH, that is our worst case scenario.
Right.
Obviously, Blue is not great either, but Sari is worst case scenario. If that happens, I'm throwing anyone under the bus.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care who it is. Matt and Jag, all the way under.
Yep.
Mimi and Felicia, don't care. Bowie, it doesn't matter. He's doing everything in his power to make sure that him and America don't end up in the block again together if Sari wins that HOH. And given that we know it's a double eviction, that means it's going to be high octane in the event of a Sari HOH.
I think a Sari HOH would be so iconic and amazing. I've said the word iconic multiple times. Last time I was on, I said the word fascinating like 50,000 times. This time I'm saying iconic. Could we imagine, like, she was down and it seemed like she might be out, but all of a sudden she comes back and wins the double eviction HOH to throw absolute chaotic fire into that house? I think it would be incredible. I would love a Sari HOH so bad. Even though it'd be bad for my draft team, I would like it.
Yeah. Well, Blue is going to talk to the cameras for a bit. After there's a big halfway party, they get some pizza. Mm-hmm. Blue talks to the cameras. She basically recaps the entire game from her perspective. And it's, basically what she's saying is, I was being tricked by Jared to isolate myself in the game, separating myself from my people, and I was convinced to try and get in with his people. And he acted like he knew everything, and I was terrible at the game, and I needed him. But now the tables have turned. He's in a bad position, and I know more than him. People want me in their alliances, and people see us as separate players, which they did briefly, but now they don't. He's still my boo, but in this game, he's been chopped off. And she is not telling him all of the information anymore. And as she's in the middle of sort of like explaining all of this, he comes in and interrupts the camera talk.
Yeah. Oh, Blue. I love that she's about 3 days behind on her feelings here. Like 3 days ago, maybe this could have been a really good read of her position in the house. But like you said, she's gone back to clearly being attached to Jared strategically in addition to being in a showmance. So I don't know if people are scrambling to work with her at this point. I think that they kind of know that they have to proceed with caution with her.
So Jared talks to Blue, and Jared is concerned about Matt. And that's because he's been thinking about something that he knows that Matt told somebody a secret about Corey that he did not tell to Jared. So what he's referring to is that Matt, and I said this was ill-advised at the time, totally pointless thing to say, Matt told Cirie about Corey playing in Path to Power. This was the biggest mistake Matt has made in the game for the last couple of weeks because it did absolutely nothing for him with Cirie. In fact, it made Cirie more skeptical of him because why is he so close to Corey? It gave this hugely detrimental secret, just threw it out there that now can come back on him if Corey finds out that Matt spread that. That's a huge breach of trust for no reason. It's just like the Survivor secret that Jared did the very same thing. And now it's this thing that Corey might not trust him because of, and now Cirie's not trusting him as much because of, and now Jared is frustrated about it.
Right.
And Jared's talking to Blue about how they have this secret together that they haven't told Blue either. And so it's really started to balloon out to become even more of a thing. But Jared is really, the thing that Jared is most frustrated by is that Matt told somebody and not him. And she goes, oh, so he told Cirie, is what you're saying. He says, yeah. She's like, well, what's the secret? He says, it's about Corey. And Matt is pretending that he doesn't talk game with Corey, but obviously they do because Corey trusted him enough to tell him that information. She's like, well, why won't you tell me what it is? He's like, there's no need for you to know. It's like he says, this is the same thing that happened with the power. But Matt didn't tell me. He eventually told me, but he told somebody else first. He's so annoyed that Cirie is better at the game than him. She goes, I'm so curious about what this is. He's like, it's honestly not even that interesting. When I heard it, I was like, oh, okay, fine. It just confirmed something we already knew. Because I definitely didn't think that Corey would never have a chance to play in Path to Power because he doesn't have the personality for it. The only reason I'm not telling you is that for some reason I don't want it in the air. I just don't want that in the air.
I really think that Jared starts to talk and then realizes about halfway that he shouldn't say what he's saying. All of a sudden, his inner Cirie voice goes, what are you doing? Clean that up a little bit. And then he is like, well, it's not important. What is frustrating for me, because if I were Blue, I would be like, no, you are not leaving this room until you tell me. What is that? And she's like, so she'll be like, it's so annoying that you won't tell me. Why won't you tell me? You should just tell me. And I'm like, no. You got to get this out of him. If he's going to start to feed you, this is how you thought Felicia was your mother-in-law for a while. Come on, right? You got about half of the information, then you drew your own conclusions. So here we need you to really, if he's going to start to say something, go after it. But I think what Jared's realizing as he starts to speak is that he really needs to hold on to this information for when he's on the block and trying to pitch information to say, hey, maybe Matt should be your backdoor plan because I'm still going to be a target. Here's the reasons why you can't trust him. And he can pitch this to a Corey. He could pitch this to America. He could even pitch this to Jag. And I think that those different people I think he might be realizing in that moment, hey, this is actually useful information that I shouldn't be just even telling Blue. And I should potentially be holding off for when I'm in trouble, inevitably, in the next week.
Not a stretch to say that a big reason he doesn't want to tell Blue this information is because he just doesn't want Blue to know that Corey got picked to play in Path to Power, not him, right?
There's that too. It's like when Austin was more embarrassed about it when you think back on the showmance thing for BB17 with him and Liz, and it was I was much more embarrassed about the fact that they all think I smell on the outside. I don't know. It's just this whole superficial thing that I just don't want these people to know this. I don't want people to think this. I don't want people to think that Corey is more loved than I am by America. I don't want my showmance to know this kind of thing.
He literally said, these words, "For some reason, I don't want that in the air."
For some reason, I don't want to acknowledge it because once we put it out there, it's, Corey's well liked by America, not me. What is happening?
America, Jag, and Corey talk some more about Blue and how frustrated they are about her and her nomination choices and how she's unwilling to work against Jared and Cirie. It's frustrating. Jag and Matt talk a little later again about why they think it's best to give Corey and America the HOH if they have the ability to. And that's pretty much the day. Like I said, nothing has really changed from the start of the day to now, other than the fact that things have really sort of started to lock in. A Blue HOH means Corey and Bowie. A Jag Matt HOH means Jared and Cirie. I think in America, HOH would also be Jared and Cirie. Corey HOH at this point probably is Blue and Jared. And then Mimi and Felicia are more wild cardy. We don't know exactly what they would do. It might be a Jag backdoor, might be a Jag red on the block, might be a Jared and Cirie for all we know. Like, I think they haven't even fully decided yet. Cirie would probably be something like America and Corey with a Jag backdoor. And so, that's what we're looking at tonight. We are about to lose probably Cam and then one other person. And as I said, by this time tomorrow, there are going to be 2 more grayed out faces on this graphic.
It's hard to believe. We're at day 51. The second half of this game is just beginning with a bang. So
yeah, Corey keeps saying at the final 9 we'll do something. The final 9 is tomorrow, bro.
Yeah, like, what are you talking about? I think it's also just important to say too that just like America didn't rat out the sirens to Corey, Blue does not rat out the sirens to Jared either. She does
there's a ton she's not ratting out to Jared.
Right.
Point.
And I think it's really interesting that, when we have that monologue when she's talking to the cameras and such, I really do think that America and Blue are going to try to look out for each other now in a way that maybe they weren't going to do before that conversation. I think it was really smart for both of them to say, okay, I need another person who's clearly on the side that's against me to kind of look out after me because we have a shared potential issue, which is our showmance.
Yeah. Well, we will see where all of that goes. Now, there's one other thing that's Big Brother related that I do want to talk about here. The Traitors season 2. The cast was officially released this morning, and Dan Giesling is going to be back on our screens for at least one episode. Because let's face it, it's going to be tough to get past that one episode for Dan Giesling.
I mean, there are going to be a lot of people going after Dan, including other Big Brother players. So I think it'll be really interesting because you have a lot of people that if you're looking at this cast, you'd be going, okay, we probably need to go after Dan Giesling. We need to be going after Sandra. We have to be going after whoever. So I could see a situation where maybe some of these huge targets come together and go, all right, or depending on what the role is, obviously, in the game. But
yeah, there were rumors. So people confirmed big names from Big Brother and Survivor, at least. Dan Giesling, Janelle, Sandra from Survivor, and Parvati. There were rumors that Boston Rob would be there as well, but they have been debunked. He is not on the cast. He was not on the official release. And I think that's actually bad for Dan. I think that there was probably a world where Dan, Janelle, Parvati, and Rob kind of got together. But from my knowledge, Parvati and Sandra don't have the best relationship in the world. And so, like, at this point, it's looking more like a trio at best, which is not a lot of numbers for them. Obviously, I didn't want to talk about this when we talked about this with Rachel. But I mean, listen, we all know Dan and Janelle will work together. They're very good friends. But outside of that, I don't think Dan has a lot of connections to reality TV people. So
Sure.
it'll be very interesting to see how this all plays out. There's a lot of other people that a lot of other like reality TV fans are excited about. I don't really know much about anyone else, but I mean, listen, Dan has created basically some of the best moments and seasons of Big Brother, and so the fact that we're getting him on another season of a thing that is a somewhat related kind of game is very exciting.
It's exactly how I feel about Sandra and Parvati. And I am so excited about Peppermint from Drag Race season 9. She is an icon here in coming back with icon, but she is an icon in New York City. Incredible, super charismatic, very fun, hilarious. I could see her team up with someone like Sandra. I could see her absolutely do well in this game. I think people will underestimate someone like her for sure.
Yeah, well, I believe they are filming now, so this probably won't be out for quite a bit. But and obviously, like tons of big names all around.
Mhm.
But I don't know. I never really thought we'd ever see Dan again. It's pretty wild. Obviously, no live feeds means it's not going to be nearly as fun. But still, maybe it's a sign. Maybe he's back in the game. I don't know.
This is just a little warm up for BB26, right?
Well, this is what I was saying last night on stream. I was like, hear me out. Dan gets a nice big paycheck, goes plays the traders. He knows it's a losing game here. This is not the game for Dan. A game called the Traders with Dan and his reputation, anybody that even remotely knows him is going to want him out immediately. But hey, nice little paycheck. Maybe a little bit of a diminishment of stature. Maybe a little bit of like, hey, does he still have it? Does he is he has he lost his edge? Maybe he's not quite the Dan we thought he was, or the Dan that he used to be. And then in the event of I don't know, say like some kind of Winter's Legend season where there's a writer's strike happening and they need extra content, maybe his target is a little bit lower. I don't know. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, sorry about that. I froze a little bit in there. I hope it was as iconic as Scally's. I think that seeing Dan on television, understanding too at this point that we've got, pretty, we're going to be feeling the effects of a writer strike and actor strike for a while now. So who knows? I think a lot of these studios are going to be in networks are going to be more than willing to try to recruit people who are going to bring ratings to their bigger reality shows. So maybe a nice fat check, maybe some incentives for Big Brother Survivor kind of play would be great in the future. I'm not going to put my money on that if I'm a betting woman, but it'd be a lot of fun.
It's not gonna happen, but it's it's a fun idea. So fun stuff. The return of Dan Giesling, and tonight a double eviction, big time events going on in the Big Brother world. Make sure you tune in tonight. I will be live on Twitch, twitch.tv/Taran Armstrong, watching tonight's double eviction. These are always big time watching events. Big events. What's going to happen? We don't know. We'll be watching live. And then, of course, after the episode, we'll be here to recap everything that goes down. And then tomorrow, 11 a.m. Eastern, I will be back to update you on everything that happens today on the Big Brother 25 live feeds. And tonight, we will probably have an HOH by the time we come back tomorrow. It's possible we don't, but we probably will, or we at least might. And 2 more people will be gone, and we might even have new plans for next week. So lots to update you on tomorrow morning if you come and tune in there. And find me on Instagram and all those fun places doing all those fun things. Beth, what do you got going on?
You can catch me on my social media at AugustaWind11, Twitter, TikTok, all of the usuals. You can also catch me on my weekly meltdown if you're looking for some supplemental and a little bit more unhinged coverage of BB25. You can catch us over there as well. And yeah, just gearing up for Survivor and having a good old time getting all of my reality TV show needs in.
All right. Well, that's what we have for you today. Thank you so much for joining us, and I will see all of you